great, not a good, a great first impression in your interviews, perhaps in a board meeting or at a networking event as a leader? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly, step by step, what you can do to make a great first impression. We see this a lot of times as leaders, and particularly as women in leadership, where we are being placed in situations where we're just trying to figure out, well, how can I make that good first impression? Good first impressions are going to be for other YouTube channels that talk about being good or being average. On this channel specifically, I am providing you with over 20 years worth of expertise as a director, as a C-suite executive, and as a public speaker and executive coach to help you make a great first impression. So if you're trying to make not a good, if you're trying to not be the average person and you want to be the person that makes a great first impression, then you absolutely want to watch this video until the end, because I'm going to give you some insight and some strategies to help you do that. Depending on how much time we have today, I may do this video as a part 2 this afternoon or this evening when I go live, but I want to at least get the conversation started today. Now, I want to know from you before we get started, what would you consider to be a great, remember, not saying good, we're not being average, we're going to be above average, especially if you're watching this channel. That's my goal, is to help you communicate confidently under pressure as a woman in leadership and navigate those very high stakes, high pressure situations. So you got to be great to do that. So let me know, what do you think consists of a great first impression? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear what you have to say. Now, before I go into some of these strategies and let's talk about this topic, this is a live video. And if you're watching this portion of the video, you are likely watching the replay, and I appreciate you being here today. Give me just a few moments. Typically with YouTube, there is a point in time where people join the conversation live. I'll say hello to them, and then I'll go into why it is so important for you to make that great first impression, how you can do it, how you can use your executive presence to really be able to showcase yourself. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I am obviously driving, and this is a different type of video that I'm doing on my channel. I'm testing it out. So let me know if you're in my audience and you watch my videos often. Let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think about the video in terms of me driving? I'm going to spend this time to go into more topics that I can speak more candidly about in more of a conversational tone, and then in the evenings I'll do more of my formal lives that I do. I want to say that oftentimes people, they focus on making that good first impression. And as I mentioned, if you want to make a good first impression, this is not the video for you. This is the video if you want to make a great first impression. So if you want to make a great first impression, then you want to definitely subscribe to the channel and take a look and learn as much as you can. I want to say hello to all of you who have joined today. If you have ever wondered, how can you make a great first impression, maybe in an interview, perhaps you're in a board meeting and you're in some other type of setting as a leader, then let me know in the comments below and let me know where you are joining from in this big, beautiful world today. People underestimate great impressions, and great impressions really encompass a couple of things. First, you want to make a great first impression because, believe it or not, it's not about necessarily you being liked or someone wanting to spend more time with you and etc. It is about you being able to set the tone in terms of how you want to be communicated with and perceived as a leader. Now, before I go into that, let me say hello in the chat. DP, hello, welcome DP. DP is from Sydney, Australia. Well, welcome friend. Glad you're here today. I appreciate you being present. And DP says hello. Hello DP, welcome. So let me know if you have any questions specifically as it relates to how to make a great, I didn't say good now. If you want to make a good first impression, this isn't the channel for you. The channel for you is making a great first impression. That's what my expertise is. And so let me know if you've ever had a good or great first impression, and maybe you've had a first impression that didn't go as well. Let me know in the comments below. We have Pancake Penguin. Welcome, Pancake Penguin. Hope you're doing well today. So I mentioned to you that people really underestimate the importance of a great first impression. Your impression will set the tone in terms of how people communicate with you moving forward in your conversations. I found that oftentimes, specifically as leaders, when we're in situations where we're meeting with other leaders and etc., sometimes what will happen is as we are introducing ourselves, we don't really realize we're making a couple of minor mistakes that cause people to think of us in a different way. So let me give you an example of that. But before I do that, I want to tell you there's one important aspect of making that great first impression. If you are going to a meeting, and let's say you know who you're going to be meeting with, if you want to make that great first impression, then take a few moments out of your day, 1 to 2 minutes, friends, and Google this person. Look this person up, check them out on social media so you know a little bit about them. So have that conversation with them about introducing yourself and etc. You have something to talk about that they have some interest in. This is something, instead of having a good first impression, it will be a great first impression. Everybody wants to know that someone has spent some time to learn a little bit about them. And so I found that when I help my clients in a one-on-one setting to do this, they make great first impressions. Great first impressions. So that's really my first strategy for you, is to, if you know where you're going and you know you're going to be at an event and you know who you're going to be speaking to, then look a little bit of information about them and talk to them about it. I personally have used this strategy when I communicated with various leaders on the congressional level and the state level, and I have always been able to make a great first impression by using this one strategy. So make sure that you implement this as you are navigating through your role as a leader. Okay, so let me look in the chat. Brittany Bonici, I believe that's Bonici. I am driving, but I want to say hello, welcome, and glad you're here today. And let me see something else in the chat. DP says, I nervously try to make a joke every time, even before I know their sense of humor. How do I stop? DP, that's a fantastic question. Sometimes and I really appreciate you for bringing that up. Sometimes what will happen, DP, is when everybody deals with nervousness in different ways. And some people will either look away, they may do something very detracting, sometimes they may make a joke, they may just do something different. Everybody deals with nervousness in different ways when they're trying to make that impression. So one of the things, DP, that I would say to you is the fact that you even mentioned that you know that you try to make a joke every time when you are trying to interact with somebody. That's really the first step, DP. The first step is to have that heightened sense of awareness. This is what happens in an executive coaching session when I'm working one-on-one with my clients. And knowing that this is something you have to work on is really the first step. The second step of that is to know that you don't have to make a joke necessarily. Sometimes, DP, what will happen is if you're in that setting and you're making a joke, when you're making that very first impression, people will start to treat you differently based on how you are presenting yourselves to them. So for example, if you're going into a business setting with other people, or maybe you're going into a job or you're going into some other role, if you, DP, want to be presented as that person who is an executive, who is a leader, and you know that's how you want to present yourself, if you come to the meeting and you start making jokes, people may not perceive you as the way that you want to be perceived. So knowing that you don't have to make a joke necessarily is a great way to stop. So DP, I'd ask you, take a few moments and get a pen, get a paper. I tell my clients this all the time, and here on my YouTube channel, write down the top 3 characteristics that you want someone to pick up on you like that immediately when they meet you. What are they? Perhaps you have an amazing sense of humor. And if you want that sense of humor to be shown, or you want people to perceive you as humorous, then let's find out a little bit more about this individual first before you can make jokes. So a great way to frame this up for you would be to have a conversation with somebody. So I mentioned to you, if you know the person, do a little bit of research on them, learn a little about them. The second is start having that dialogue. Sometimes you can pick up very subtly someone's sense of humor just by speaking with them. They may say something that is you may find it to be humorous, and then you can start to understand, oh, okay, this person likes the more sarcastic humor. I'm more of a sarcastic humor kind of person. Some people are not sarcastic humor. They may like a different type of humor. But if you pay attention and really observe what they're saying and how they're saying it, you might be able to pick up on what they find as being humorous. Then you start learning what type of sense of humor that they like. So a lot of it comes with how you want to be perceived. Is humor your way of dealing with nervousness, or is humor what you truly want people to know you for in humor? It just depends. So take a few moments, figure out exactly what it is specifically you want to be perceived as a person when you're in those type of settings. Let me know if you have any other questions for me. DP, I think that was a really great question you brought up, and I appreciate you bringing that up, friend, because people deal with humor in different ways. And I've seen oftentimes when people are really nervous, and this isn't your case, DP, I'm not saying that at all, but just from over the past 20 years dealing with different leaders, individuals from different organizations and businesses, that I see humor being used oftentimes to put themselves in a way to where they're just really nervous and they don't know how to funnel or channel that nervousness into more of a leadership type of energy. So that's just what I've seen, in my very humble opinion, but I hope that helped you, and I appreciate you bringing that up. DP says, thank you, exclamation mark. I appreciate that, DP. Do you want to be taken seriously, but as a comfortable person? Yes, that is me. Okay, great. So this is what you can do. If you want to be taken seriously as a comfortable person, there's a certain bit of, if you don't want to necessarily use humor, then let's try to use charisma. Now, for those of you who don't know what charisma is specifically, I know it's a very big buzzword nowadays. For me, charisma is something I think is incredibly important, especially when you're trying to showcase your executive presence as a leader. You need charisma. Like, you absolutely need to have charisma. It is so incredibly important for you to have charisma. But if you want to be perceived, DP, as you mentioned, you want to be taken seriously, but as a comfortable person, then this is going to lead into what I want to mention to you next. So we talked about how if you know where you're going, you know who you're meeting, take a few moments, find out about this person you're meeting with. So in the conversation when you're talking to them, you can mention something along the lines of an interest that they have. The second is you want to introduce yourself in a very professional way. And what I see people do often is that they're very comfortable in introducing themselves, but sometimes they may introduce themselves in a very lax way. And when they introduce themselves in a very lax type of way, what happens is the person they're speaking with perceives them as being lax. And so, DP, we don't want that for you. You want to be perceived as someone that's serious, but a comfortable person. So the best way for you to do that is to really showcase your executive presence. How can you do that when you're doing a first impression? So you can say, hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time of the day or however you want to greet them. My name is DP. It's really nice to meet you today. So you can still smile and still be very cordial. Make eye contact. I have a saying here on my YouTube channel. If it's your first time joining me, which DP it might be, I haven't seen you on here before. Watch out for my videos that talk about eye contact and the cowboy. That is something you definitely want to check out. Learn the cowboy. Cowboy for eye contact is really important. That will absolutely help you to be perceived as a serious person. So watch the cowboy in a couple videos that I have, and they're on my live channel. Now, when you introduce yourself, you say hello, you smile and be cordial, but then after you smile, you can, rest your lips in a relaxing way. So you don't necessarily need to be, hi, my name is DP, how are you? And just smiling the entire time. That will not necessarily make you be perceived as serious. So you can say, hi, my name is DP. It's really great to meet you. How did you like this event today? And then just change what your lips are doing. Sometimes you want to be perceived as serious. If you're smiling all the time, there's a balance there, right? You want to still be charismatic, you want to still inspire people, but you don't want to necessarily be the person that just looks like they're just being silly all the time too. So that is something to keep in mind. And I would say your tone of voice, DP, is really important when you're making that first impression. If you want to be serious but be very comfortable, you have to know what your baseline is in terms of how you're speaking, and then just sound excited. Sound really energetic, really excited. When people sound energetic and excited, automatically people feel more comfortable with them. If people sound like, hi, my name is DP and I'm really glad to be here, it sounds like you're not really glad to be here. So be really excited about what you're doing. That excitement will start to bring comfort to people. How you make yourself more serious is by your eye contact, the cowboy, as I mentioned to you. Watch my videos on that. And then also what your lips are doing. Those two coming together, in addition to your eyebrows, will help set that serious tone, even if you sound energetic. And that is I would say, the ideal mix of the two things that you want to have together. You want to be serious as a leader, but you want to be comfortable that someone can talk to. And putting those two will make you that. So as I mentioned, energy, just be excited to be there. Be excited to meet another human being, okay? First. Second would be, make sure you master eye contact. So for those of you who just joined, welcome. Glad you're here today. The cowboy, as I mentioned on my live videos, you'll see videos about eye contact. Most of the time when I mention eye contact, I'm talking about the cowboy. So definitely check those videos out on my live tab. And your eye contact, what your lips are doing, and your eyebrows will help set that seriousness. So that puts it together to where you can have a balance of both. So DP says, let's see, going to check it out now. Thank you again, exclamation mark. Well, thank you, DP. I appreciate you being here with me today. And I'm going to be doing probably a part 2 of this evening when I go live. So typically on my channel, I go live Tuesday through Friday. And I'm testing out doing morning lives in the morning. I typically do my lives in the evening, so I'm just testing it out to see if my audience is wanting to learn more in the mornings, or is the evening better, or if I end up doing both. So we talked about a couple ways to make that really great first impression. So, and DP, I appreciate you interacting today. I appreciate Brittany, and then a Pancake Penguin for being present also today. So we talked about a couple things. We have Bobby Scott. Hello, Bobby Scott. Welcome, friend. How you doing today? Let me know where you're joining from, the big, beautiful world today, friend. So we talked about making that great. We're not making a good first impression, friends, leaders. We're making a great first impression. And I'm going over just a couple of strategies to make that great first impression. I am going to do a part 2 of this evening, because we were not able to go into everything because we had some really great dialogue today. But for those of you who just joined, these are strategies for you to make a great first impression. If you know where you are going, who you are meeting with, take 1 to 2 minutes, friends, just to look them up on Google. Do they have a social media profile? Do they? Check them out. See exactly what are some of their interests, what are the things that they like, what are they learning about, etc. Use at least 1 or 2 talking points in your conversation. Sorry, the sun is really bright in this area. Use 1 or 2 talking points in your conversation to show that you spent some time to look at them and learn more about them. If you don't know who they are, that's fine. That's okay. Just learn about them. But ultimately, you want to say hello, greet them, and make sure you smile. But make sure you have a lot of energy when you're speaking to them. You want to be very energetic. Excuse me, when you are speaking to someone for the first time. That energy makes them to feel comfortable, as DP was saying when we were talking about it, and also just appear serious at the same time. I specifically work with leaders, and in terms of my one-on-one clients, I work with women in leadership. So if you're trying to have that mix, like DP said, of being serious but also being in a place where you can still be comfortable, or someone that people want to talk to, then making sure that you have a high energy. Be really excited to talk to someone. Be excited to talk to this person. And with that excitement, still make that eye contact. As I mentioned before, watch my live videos here on my live channel that talk specifically about eye contact. That is where I talk about the cowboy. Use your eye contact. Make sure your eyebrows and your lips are in a more serious type of tone, but you still sound very energetic. That's how you get that balance. And I wanted to mention one more thing very quickly. How you make this very first great impression dictates how people will communicate with you moving forward. I have seen leaders make mistakes constantly in this type of setting where they are in a situation where they presented themselves as being very, very lax in a conversation, and then what happens? They work with somebody years later or months later down the road, they get very frustrated in terms of, why is this person not treating me with respect? It starts with that very first, as I mentioned, great impression. I hope this information has been helpful to you. I'm going to be going live with part 2 of this video, of this topic, later this afternoon. If you are new to me, I specialize in helping women leaders communicate with confidence under pressure and navigate those very high stakes, high pressure situations. However, on my channel, I have a mix of women in leadership and I have a mix of men in leadership. And so I appreciate everyone for being here and interacting on my channel, because ultimately the information I'm sharing with you from my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, a director and a manager, transcends gender as it relates to leadership. So whether you're a woman or a man that are subscribed to my channel, you will find a tremendous amount of value here that will help you communicate at a higher level than your peers. So I will see you all this evening. Make sure you watch this next live, part 2 of making a great first impression as a leader. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.